Hi, I'm Rich Sampson, editor of DigitalCT magazine, and I'm here today in Harrisonburg, Virginia, with Robin Smith of Harrisonburg Department of Public Transportation. And besides my duties as editor of DigitalCT magazine, I also coordinate CTAA's Roadeo. And just so happens Robin Smith just won our rodeo this year in 2016 in Portland, Oregon. And given that Harrisonburg is a pretty easy drive from DC, our main offices, we came down to visit with Robin and the folks here at HEDP on kind of preparing for a rodeo and tips that Robin and her colleagues here might have for other drivers who are competing in their local rodeo, state rodeo, and then eventually our national rodeo for CTA. So welcome, Robin.
Hello.
So before we kind of talk about rodeo details, just tell us a little bit about your background in being a transit driver or your driving experience before then.
Well, I came to work for Harrisonburg Public Transportation in 2006, and I started out as a school bus driver. Never had driven a big vehicle in my life, and to be completely honest, when I first stepped on board, I was completely scared. I think I took the vehicle up to about 5 or 10 miles an hour around a closed course and said, I don't know if this is for me. But by the end of the day, I was ready, and I was a little bit more relaxed. And 4.5 years of doing school bus driving, it put me in a really good place to integrate into our transit system.
Yep.
Then started driving a 35-foot Gillig bus and doing what we call lunch breaks and express runs. Express runs work on JMU to where our passenger load is a little bit more than what we can handle with our regular routes.
Okay.
So they take on extra passengers so they get to their destinations in a timely manner. And then I also started doing some night transit, working with the JMU students and taking them as well. I took and started paratransit about 2 years ago and really started on body on chassis. And then we got 2 minivans and started integrating into that. And I also dispatch and I do some mentoring as well.
So, what you're hearing from Robin is kind of very typical for community public transportation systems across the country. Drivers do everything, pitching in here and there, driving every type of vehicle, and I think that might have given Robin some extra experience in our rodeo. But for those of you from around the country, JMU is James Madison University here in Harrisonburg. It's one of Virginia's largest public universities, and transit system here really has a big role in moving those students around. Is that right, Robin?
Yeah, we typically haul anywhere from 20,000 to 30,000 students, in maybe a week or even a month.
Yeah.
Depends on how many times they ride. They depend on us to get back and forth to class and to their off-campus housing.
Yeah, so big role here. Who else is riding on the buses here in Harrisonburg?
We also have a lot of city residents. We have our dedicated routes 1 through 6, and also the shopper, which takes a lot of our city residents. They can range anywhere from children going to school that don't want to ride the school bus or maybe just miss the bus, to our elderly and our disabled. They are able to ride our regular transit along with our paratransit. Right.
So lots of options for people.
Very much so.
So, Robin, I guess, getting closer to the rodeo discussion, and you can see some of the hardware that Robin and her colleagues have brought back from our rodeo and then the state rodeo here in Virginia. They won the best overall system award this past year for Virginia.
Yeah, for our transit. They competed in the 35-foot division, which was the first time that we ever won that award. And I'm extremely proud of that team. So,
Robin, tell us a little bit about how you and the other drivers here at HEP prepare for rodeos, and what's the kind of philosophy behind getting ready?
Okay, well, every year we have our annual training, which happens just about right before our rodeo, if not a couple months before. And we set up a closed course, which very closely mimics what a rodeo obstacle course would look like. Everyone is invited to do that. It's a mandatory training we have for all of our drivers. And from that, it draws interest for our local rodeo because our competitors are not the same every year. We take and look at all aspects. We do a general knowledge test, CDL material. We also do the driving course, of course, and then we do passenger securement because we not only do that on our paratransit, but we also do it on transit.
Excellent. So all the drivers, whether you're on the fixed route or paratransit, do the passenger securement aspect of it too. So you're mentioning the driving course, and that's kind of what a lot of people focus in on a rodeo. And most rodeos, it is the largest point aspect, but we think at our CTAA National Rodeo, the winners actually kind of beat the competition based on the pre-trip inspection and passenger assistance aspect. So can you tell us about how you go about competing in those elements?
Yes, passenger securement, for me, I got used to doing it when I knew I would have to compete in it. I treated each of my customers as if they were, a part of the competition. I would stop my stopwatch when I would get ready to load them on the lift, go through the whole gamut, treating them as just professionally as I could, and they never had a clue that I was doing it.
Exactly.
But it got me more prepared. It got my lockdowns a lot better. It got, the time of loading my passengers on, and they were like, "Wow, you did that really quickly. Let's get to our destination."
Exactly.
So they were, it helped. The defect bus or
The pre-trip.
Pre-trip was a new thing for me because for state we do not do that.
Okay.
I mean, we do a pre-trip every day and a post-trip on our vehicles as we should,
Right.
but when I found out that would be a part of it, I asked them to take one thing off my bus every day, and if I couldn't find it, I didn't leave the lot.
Yeah.
So.
And you kind of got a familiarity
with that
kind of idea. So it wasn't as intimidating, even though you didn't have a formal process behind it.
Right.
With the state rodeo, you could still prepare a little bit for it.
Right, and my hope is that, we integrate that into our state rodeo because it'll help prepare anyone from Virginia that gets to go to the Nationals to be prepared for it.
Yeah, and Robin did very well in that aspect. She got 125 out of 150 possible points on it. So things like that really make the difference at our national competition. So good job kind of getting ready for that ahead of time. So Robin, you describe yourself as a technical driver. What does that mean for a rodeo competition?
For me, it means learning all aspects of my vehicle. I want to know the width, the height, the turning radius, the wheelbase, because every vehicle drives differently.
Right.
Like I'm used to a Dodge Caravan, and when I went to the National, we got told at the last minute it was going to be a Kia Sedona.
Right.
Never had ever driven that. So I found out all the technical specs, found out it was going to be wider with a shorter wheelbase, so I knew it would turn a little bit tighter, but also be a little bit bigger.
Right.
So, one of my friends that I've met, through the rodeo system for the National, which is his 4th time there, was Bush Shields. And he was also from Fredericksburg, Virginia. And he gave me the best advice that I could have gotten throughout the whole rodeo is there's a difference between a technical driver and an adaptive driver. And my job now, because it was something I was not used to, was to be able to adapt to both.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit how you kind of became more of an adaptive driver.
So when I got the opportunity to look at the vehicle, I looked at it. I knew it was going to be wider, but I kind of walked around the vehicle, finding out where your rear tire is in relation to your bumper. Walk it out. Know how many steps you've got from the middle of that rear tire to the end of your bumper. That's going to give you a good indication of where you need to stop for your reverses. You don't want to go too far. Also, look inside. Take a good moment to look where your controls are, where your 4-way flashers are. Just ask. Can
Things
I
like
look
the
at the
windshield
vehicle?
wipers too,
Yes.
and where the spray is.
Yeah, because some vehicles have a sprayer little black thing on the hood, and that's a good reference point for some of your obstacles. And some of them are flat and have nothing on them, like the Kia Sedona. So, really get used to, if you pick out one point of reference, look for a second one because not every vehicle is going to have the same thing.
Yeah, and just a couple nuances for the national competition is we don't really even know sometimes what the vehicles are going to be until we pick them up for them the day before. This year they were provided from Enterprise, and that's what they had available. So it's not ideal for the drivers, and we appreciate that. But unfortunately, we're all coming from somewhere else, and kind of the vehicles we have are what we end up using. But the other side note, like Robin was saying, is when you get in the vehicle to drive at the starting position, take as long as you like. There's no clock on that amount of time. And the starters there on both courses will let you look around the console, make sure you get comfortable with where everything is. So please do take advantage of that time to get familiar with all the gears and buttons and things like that, where everything is. So kind of more generally, Robin, what advice would you give to other drivers who are entering a rodeo competition, both a national and or a state local?
First off, have fun. You know, whether you win or you lose or it's an even wash, the experience that you're going to gain from just being in the competition, being around the people that are there in the competition, you can't match that. Exactly. No amount of training that you do in-house will get you nearly prepared for what other agencies have done for their drivers. Mm-hmm. You know, I got told a long time ago, if you ever get to a point in your career that you can't say you learn something every day, if you get complacent, you need to stop. Because once you get complacent, it's done. You run into accidents, you can hurt people, you can hurt yourself. So, you know, I was nervous going into the national. I was like, I'm not the type of person that just goes out and be as a social person. But we went to the registration, and the first thing there was, you know, write a bio about yourself. Well, we don't do that on our state level, so I'm like, okay, what do I need to say about myself? Because I'm not a braggart, you know. So be prepared with a bio, something, you know, I work here, I've done this, things you enjoy. Be prepared for a video clip of yourself introducing yourself, which I thought was an amazing thing for the national, because you get to say who you are and where you're from, and no one else can do that for you.
And we risk not screwing up your names too.
Yeah. Be prepared to have a long day. It may be a wet day, it may be a hot day, it may be a cold day. Wear something comfortable. You know, though you want to represent your agency and, you know, have your button-down shirt and you're tucked in and everything, as long as you're looking professional and you're comfortable, be comfortable. Because that's going to make all the difference in how you drive and how you move around during your passenger securement and your pre-trip.
Exactly.
Get a lot of sleep, because sometimes when you do your state, you know, it's in our time area, and going to Portland, Oregon, we were 3 hours ahead on the East Coast, so sleep, lots of sleep.
So for those of you, for the next couple of years coming from the West Coast, coming to Detroit and Pittsburgh, be prepared for that time change in the opposite direction coming up. And another good thing is Sunday evening after the competition's over, you have time to unwind. But Saturday night before our rodeo is when you really should get some good sleep and rest up.
Very much so.
And Robin, this was your first year at our national competition, and you were able to win the Rookie of the Year award in addition to the Driver of the Year award. What advice would you have to other first-time national CTA drivers?
Don't be afraid. Go in, you know, thinking, okay, well, I can do this. I have a shot at this. I'm here. You know, everyone at the time that you get there is on the same level playing field as you are. It doesn't matter if it's their first rodeo or their sixth rodeo. You know, every driver has a good day and every driver has a bad day. You know, you never know how others are going to perform. All you can do is go out and do the best you can for you. You know, be ready to cheer others on, and be ready for them to cheer you on. With the national, I never ran into one negative person the whole entire time I was there, which was incredible. There were people from all across the country that were ready to give tips and share experiences, and just even when, like, after your driving competition or before you're, you know, they're rooting you on. Even though they're competing against you, they're there to help you out. Exactly. So, you know, great team spirit, really, really helped out. I was in shock for winning, because I was like, oh, okay, I had a good run, but there was a lot of people there that had a good run as well.
Yeah.
So, never put it to where, oh, I can't do this. It's my first year, I don't have a chance. You have every opportunity to win this thing. You just got to do what's best for you and what you feel comfortable with.
Well, I don't think we could have said it any better, Robin. And I think that will wrap up our video discussion today. I want to thank Robin and everybody here at DRPT for hosting us here today. And we look forward to seeing a lot of you drivers